A flower-headed monster is terrorizing your town and you need it dealt with yesterday. Well, I'm glad you came here because I will show you not only how to kill these petal-faced freaks, but also how to make sure they are never a threat to your town ever again. As many of you know, the main villain/monster of Stranger Things Season 1 is the Demogorgon. In the later seasons, the Demogorgon is sidelined in favor of new types of monsters, but it is still prominent in many forms. How are we going to kill this nigh unkillable creature? In the first season, it seems to be almost immune to all damage. It eats bullets, can take a bear trap, can be set on fire. The only thing that seems to make it run away is being set on fire while Steve is wailing on it with a nail bat. And even then, it just teleported away. Thankfully, Demogorgons aren't actually immune to damage. They're just resistant to a lot of types of damage. Every time the Demogorgon runs into any type of government agents, they just shoot at it and try to pepper it full of bullets. That will not work, because every time, it tends to shrug the bullets off. It would be one thing if one guy shooting it couldn't take one down, but it's clear that Demogorgons can take a lot of combined fire and still not be phased. Even after being weakened, they are able to just eat bullets. So small caliber guns are a no-go. I won't rule out higher calibers, like I'm pretty sure a 50 cal would mess up a Demogorgon, but that's because a 50 cal will mess up anything you point it at. Guns can be effective against demo dogs and demo bats, but even then your results may vary. On the other hand though, the Demogorgon and its variants seem to be very weak to melee attacks. We see glimmers of this in Season 1, when Steve does work with a nail bat, or in Season 4 when a weakened, malnourished Hopper is able to kill a Demogorgon with a sword, or in Season 4 when Eddie is able to get a bunch of demo bats with a spear, or even in Season 5 when Nancy Wheeler, holding nothing but a broken wine bottle, is able to make a Demogorgon take some steps back and actually take damage. Demogorgons are weak to slashing attacks. It's as simple as that. The easiest way to kill one is to attack them necromorph style. If shooting them in the body won't work, hack off their limbs. Then they die. That's what Hopper did. If Nancy was given a laser cutter, she would have ended Stranger Things in Season 1. That girl loves a gun, and giving her a gun that's designed to cut through things? I don't think Vecna would have stood a chance. You're better off with a sword than a gun, because with the sword you can cut off their limbs or aim for other parts of their body. So step 1 for removing Demogorgons? Just quick guns. Maybe keep a sidearm for emergencies, or shotguns, because shotguns at least can stagger them, but for the most part, you're gonna want swords. Blunt weapons, such as Steve's nail bat, seem to kinda work. Steve with the nail bat was able to put in work, Eddie was able to put in work, Hopper was able to put in work, Mrs. Wheeler put in work. Besides Hopper, none of these characters have any sort of combat training, so it's pretty clear if you give just about anyone a melee weapon, they will at least do better against a Demogorgon than a group of soldiers with guns. The best a group of soldiers usually does is slow down a Demogorgon. Now that we have a group of people armed with melee weapons, we should probably give them armor. They already have high combat effectiveness, but Demogorgons, they have a lot of attacks, and a lot of their attacks can hurt a person really bad. So I think putting them in some strong armor will help. The Demogorgon already has a speed advantage regardless if you have armor or not, so you might as well bundle up and hope for the best. Essentially, the ideal army to invade the Upside Down is probably just a bunch of medieval knights. Screw guns and military fatigues, get me a guy with a sword, a shield, and some armor and we're gonna kill this thing. Let's not forget the elephant in the room. Everything from the Upside Down has a severe weakness to fire. Melee weapons do pack a punch, but you know what works even better against Demogorgons? A flamethrower. As seen in literally every season. A Molotov works, a flamethrower works. If you can set a Demogorgon on fire, you're probably gonna win the fight. At minimum, it's gonna run away. In Season 4, we see this best. A concentrated flamethrower blast kills a bunch of demo dogs and weakens a Demogorgon severely. In Season 5, at least the part that's out so far, a guy shoots a flamethrower at a Demogorgon and it causes it to fall over in pain, and then all the other Demogorgons in the hive mind also fall over in pain, because flames are just that bad for them. Speaking of the hive mind, that's actually a big weakness of the Demogorgons in the Upside Down in general. The fact that shooting a flamethrower at one Demogorgon caused all the other ones to double over in pain is really bad for them. We also see this in Season 2 and 3. If you hurt any part of the hive mind, all the flayed feel it and react very negatively. This basically means that if you're fighting a war against the Upside Down, you can basically create a failure cascade. Hit one of them with a really bad attack and all the other ones will double over in pain, giving you an opening to then hit them really hard, causing more pain, causing them all to double over, rinse and repeat. The Upside Down hive mind is only an effective fighting force for as long as they cannot get hurt. The second one of them gets hurt, everything starts to fall apart. It even affects Vecna, who's supposedly the big bad of the Upside Down. He's weak to Molotovs, and apparently if you kill a Demogorgon on the other side of the world, it somehow weakens him, making him easier to attack in the Upside Down. The end of Season 4 is confusing, and I don't really think they thought it through that much, but apparently hurting Demogorgons will also hurt Vecna and vice versa. I've mentioned the flayed, and you might think they would be a problem. After all, having a bunch of people be secretly part of a hive mind can be an issue. Thankfully, the flayed are a very flawed type of hive mind. The flayed have very obvious signs of infection, such as being afraid of basically all heat, constantly sweating, and just being weird in general. And in addition to everything else, they, like every other part of the hive mind, react very negatively if something gets hurt. So if you want to figure out if someone's flayed, just have them go in a sauna for like 10 minutes. Or if you have a captive part of the hive mind, just like shoot it with a flamethrower. They will immediately double over in pain. Flamethrow a vine, every flayed within the tri-state area will start having a seizure. On top of that, you cannot become flayed easily. They can't just spread like zombies or something. To be flayed, you have to like have a tentacle from a mind flayer thing attached to your mouth and pump you full of weird particles. It's what happened to Will, and it's what happened to all the guys in Season 3. You cannot become flayed from long-term exposure to the Upside Down. You have to be pumped full of mind flayer particles. It's the only way. So as long as stringent quarantine protocols are followed, the chances of a flayed person getting out are near zero. And all the quarantine entails is putting anyone you suspect of being flayed in a sauna or a hot room for a while. You'll know pretty quickly if they aren't freaking out. With all this in mind, our theoretical anti-Upside Down task force should be able to handle just about anything from the Upside Down, besides a few exceptions. The first are the flesh puppets from Season 3. The flesh puppets are weird and seemingly resistant to melee attacks and most forms of damage because they just reknit themselves. Any part of them that is cut off seem to be able to independently keep attacking and acting. But they should still be very weak to fire, and if fire attacks don't work, you can also just use explosives. Artillery and airstrikes should make short work of those things. I don't think they can regenerate if the tissue they're made of is burned, which is why I think fire weapons or explosives will work just fine. In fact, let's upgrade our melee dudes. Melee dudes won't work against a flesh monster, but if it's a melee guy with a flaming sword, or a flaming chain sword, I think it might work. Is it realistic? No. Is it practical? No. Is it rad? Yes it is. Another hard to kill denizen of the Upside Down will be the Mind Flayer itself. It's hard to hurt a thing that is consisting of a mass of flying particles, so my best guess is probably just a really big bomb. Flamethrowers could work, but I really think for the Mind Flayer itself, just a nuke. Especially because it's in the Upside Down. You can nuke that thing and have none of the consequences because all the radiation and stuff is in another dimension. Last but not least is Vecna, and for him the solution is clear. A sneak attack or overwhelm him. He has powers, but he can't react to something he does not expect. That's how the game is able to almost kill him in Season 4. A drone strike should do the trick. He can stop anything he can react to, which is why just getting rid of him with a big bomb really quickly is the way to go. At this point you're probably wondering why I keep mentioning things such as nukes and airstrikes. What kind of heavy guns are we bringing to deal with the Upside Down? Well, it's simple. Simply put, we are bringing everything we can because this guide isn't about how to kill a Demogorgon actually. It's about how we're going to invade the Upside Down and make it a part of America. They opened a portal in the good old US of A, and it's our prerogative to manifest our destiny all over a new dimension. Also, in a world without a telekinetic person like 11, our best bet to stop the Upside Down from encroaching in is to encroach back. The military at the start of Season 5 have the right idea, but they do it completely wrong. Fortifying around the main gate is the correct choice to ensure the Upside Down does not encroach too far, but they were completely ill-equipped to handle the threat. The denizens of the Upside Down are resistant to piercing and blunt attacks, but are weak to slashing and flame. More melee weapons and more flame troopers, less dudes with guns. Anything ranged you have should at least be extremely high caliber. You want a tank buster at minimum. On the other side of the portal you should build a base similarly. Build it directly on the opposite side. Don't build it a ways from the portal and then you have to drive there. That's an easy way to get ambushed. And then once you have the Upside Down base set up, there are two things you can do to make sure you get rid of all the creatures without actually having to risk that many people. The first one is, just start a forest fire. The Upside Down is a direct copy of our world, and it's full of a lot of dead trees that are very burnable. Forest fires usually only stop because it's raining, people intervene, or there's a large block that stops there being fuel. The immediate area around the portal, at least, is full of a bunch of dead trees in town with no water in sight. I think if you set one tree on fire, it will spread to the entire Upside Down Hawkins area. It might sound destructive and wasteful, but really it will just get rid of everything Upside Down related. all of those dead trees will go up in an instant, and with them all the vines, any demi creatures. Basically, you're setting yourself up to have an area around the portal that is completely devoid of all upside down crap. Any resistance from demo creatures can be dealt with by your knights or your flamethrower soldiers, or the second way I think you can deal with them. Once you're in the upside down, I think large-scale use of drones will be a great way to take care of a lot of the harder to kill creatures. Drones are cheap to make and can carry large payloads. Just send them out. If they see a demogorgon, at minimum you now have intel, or they can just slam into it and blow them up. Anti-demogorgon lording munitions are the future. I expect Perrin to make a video about it very shortly. If Vecna shows up, once again, just take him out with bombs, artillery, and airstrike, something like that. Due to how the hive mind works, it might be a good idea to launch an attack against a group of demogorgons or the mind flayer itself, and then attack Vecna separately. The pain should rebound between them, causing them both to be disoriented, and catching Vecna off guard is the #1 way to get rid of him. That's another advantage of the forest fire plan. If you burn every vine, you have an area that the hive mind cannot see. As for the mind flayer itself, as I said before, flamethrowers, nukes, just something big. It's a 50-story tall group of particles. I think you're just going to need the biggest boom possible. As of now, I don't know how to deal with the flesh wall, or even if it can be dealt with at all, but that's a question to be answered in a future video when Season 5 is fully out. Until then, use this guide to fulfill your dreams of interdimensional conquest. Manifest that destiny and make sure the flower faces pay. See you next time.